It had been months of hard work. I had been pulling double shifts for 8 long months, balancing my regular job by day and driving for Uber late into the night. The hours were grueling. The exhaustion was overwhelming. But every time I looked at the engagement ring on Andrea's finger, I told myself it would all be worth it. We were about to get married, and I was doing this for our future. The wedding was supposed to be the culmination of everything we had been working towards together. A celebration of love, a promise to build a life side by side. At least, that's how I saw it. Andrea had always dreamed of the perfect wedding, and I had promised her that. But there was something I hadn't realized, something that was slowly eating away at the foundation we had built. I had been working myself to the bone to pay for our wedding. A wedding that was going to cost $35,000. Yeah, looking back now, it seems insane, but at the time, it felt like the right thing to do. Andrea had this Pinterest board, a vision of what our special day was going to look like. She wanted everything: lavish flowers, an extravagant venue, a perfect dress. Her parents offered to pay for the flowers, and that was it. My parents were retired, living on a fixed income, so I was the one carrying the weight. I thought about that ring, that future we were supposed to build, and I kept telling myself, just one more push. A small loan might help, and I had already been pre-approved. I thought I could make it work. We were so close. But then, everything came crashing down. 2 weeks ago, I was in the break room at work, exhausted and half-dazed, scrolling through Facebook on my phone while my ramen heated up in the microwave. I wasn't expecting anything to shake me out of my stupor. But then Andrea's post appeared on my feed. A woman shouldn't have to beg for attention from her own man. If he wanted to, he would. Know your worth. My heart dropped. There it was. Her message to the world, shared publicly for everyone to see. I didn't know what hurt more, the words themselves or the fact that she didn't even come to me with her feelings. Instead, she put it all out there for strangers to comment on. I read it over and over, staring at the screen in disbelief. I sat there for a solid minute, just holding my phone, trying to process what I had just read. I wanted to be angry. I wanted to lash out. But instead, all I could think was, you won't have to anymore. And just like that, I typed it out, hit send, and put my phone on silent. I stood up, went back to work, and tried to push the anger away. But by the time my shift ended, my phone was blowing up: 73 missed calls, 142 text messages, and a full voicemail inbox. Her family, my friends, people I hadn't heard from in years, they were all calling, texting, panicking. And I didn't answer a single one of them. In that moment, I knew something had to change. I couldn't keep living this way. The silence on the other end of the phone was deafening. The weight of Andrea's post still hung over me as I sat in the break room, trying to wrap my mind around everything. I had worked so hard for this relationship, for our future. Yet there I was, reading a public declaration of disappointment that felt like a slap in the face. I couldn't even remember the last time Andrea and I had really talked about what we were going through. It seemed like the stress of wedding planning had taken over, and I had been so wrapped up in making it happen that I failed to notice we were both drifting apart. I didn't respond to anyone's calls that day. Instead, I walked back to my desk and focused on work, my hands mechanically typing away at my tasks. But in the back of my mind, I kept going back to that post. The words echoed in my head: a woman shouldn't have to beg for attention from her own man. It wasn't the first time Andrea had expressed frustration, but it was the first time she had done it so publicly. And that's what hit me the hardest: the public nature of it. She didn't come to me with her concerns. She didn't talk to me about how she was feeling. Instead, she aired our dirty laundry for all to see, for all her friends and followers to comment on. And I was left wondering, had I been blind to everything happening right in front of me? Was I really the problem? When I got home that night, the house felt different. There was a strange emptiness in the air, a tension I couldn't shake. I went straight to our shared wedding account, the one we had been both contributing to. I remember the day we opened it. It was supposed to be a joint effort, a symbol of our shared commitment to building a life together. We agreed to put in a set amount each month. It wasn't much, 500 here, 1,000 there, but it added up over time. Or so I thought. I pulled up the bank statements, feeling a cold dread settle in my stomach. Andrea had been contributing, but not nearly as much as I had. I had deposited $22,000 of my own money over the past year, money I had worked for, money I had sacrificed countless hours of sleep and socializing for. Andrea had only deposited $3,500. That was it. In the beginning, she seemed so excited about our wedding, about our future. She told me that this was her dream, that we would make it happen together. But as I stared at the numbers in front of me, I realized something was off. It wasn't just the imbalance in contributions that bothered me, it was the withdrawals. Small amounts, scattered over the last few months, 300 here, 450 there. Always round numbers. Always to Venmo or ATM transfers. I looked at the totals. In the past 3 months, she had withdrawn $4,200 from the account, more than half of what she had contributed. My heart raced as I clicked through the details. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I sat there, staring at the screen, replaying every conversation we had ever had about money, about the wedding. Andrea had always told me that things would get better once she got her promotion at work. She was so excited about it, talking about how the extra money would help with the wedding. But the truth was, it wasn't a promotion at all. It was a departmental restructure, a pay cut. And that was the moment when I realized, the money she had been withdrawing wasn't going towards the wedding at all. It wasn't going towards us. I had been working myself to the bone, thinking I was doing everything I could for our future, for our life together. But it wasn't just the wedding I was paying for, it was her life, her trips, her nights out. I started to put the pieces together. Every withdrawal matched up with a social media post, a photo of her out at dinner with friends, a concert she claimed was with her sister, a weekend getaway to Miami she swore was for a work conference. It all made sense now. I couldn't hold it in any longer. I took screenshots of the account, documenting everything. Every withdrawal. Every missed deposit. Every time I thought she was contributing, only to find out she had been taking from the very account that was supposed to build our future. I knew what I had to do. The next day, I called the venue to cancel our reservation. They offered me a 60% refund because they had a long waiting list, and I was lucky they were able to rebook the date so quickly. I called the photographer next. He understood completely and refunded me in full. The DJ, the florist, the caterer, all of them were either cancelled or refunded, some partially, some not. All in all, I got back about $14,000 of the $22,000 I had deposited. I still couldn't believe it. All that money, all that effort, all those hours I had spent working double shifts, and it had been drained away, little by little. I wasn't done. I went back to our apartment, the one we had been living in for 2 years. The one that was only in my name because Andrea's credit was shot, at least that's what she had always told me. I packed her things carefully, methodically. Her grandmother's china, her expensive makeup, the designer purses she had gotten on sale, everything that I had helped her pay for, everything she had accumulated while I worked myself into the ground. It all went into boxes. Andrea didn't get home until late. She had been at her friend Megan's house, according to her Instagram stories. She was crying, she said. Comforted by wine and her friends. She walked in at 11 p.m., completely unaware of what I had done. When she saw the boxes, she stopped in her tracks. "What in the world is this?" she asked, her voice shaky. "Your stuff," I said, calm and steady, though inside I was seething. "You're not staying here anymore. Are you serious right now? Over a Facebook post?" She looked at me as if I had lost my mind. "You've been publicly disrespecting me," I said, my voice low but firm. "While I've been killing myself to pay for your dream wedding, the wedding you've contributed $700 to. Where's your part of the money? You want to know what's gone wrong? It's not just the wedding. It's you. You've been lying to me. Taking from me. And I've had enough." Her face went pale. "You went through the account?" It's our money, Andrea, I replied. Our wedding account. I have every right to check it. She started crying, but it wasn't the sad kind of crying. It was angry crying. You don't understand the pressure I'm under. My friends all have perfect relationships, perfect weddings. And you're never around anymore, because I'm working to pay for it all. That was the moment. That's when I finally understood. She didn't care. She didn't care about us. She cared about her image, about keeping up appearances. But she had no idea how much I had sacrificed to make it happen. Well, maybe if you made better money, she snapped, you wouldn't have to work so much. That was it. That was the last straw. I walked over to the door, opened it, and said, "Get out. You can't stay here. You're not on the lease. I live here. You can't just kick me out. You've got 30 days legally, but I packed your stuff for you to make it easier," I said. "Megan's couch should be comfortable enough for you." She screamed at me, called me every name in the book. Abusive, controlling, selfish. But I didn't care anymore. The wedding was off. I had cancelled everything, and I had the confirmations to prove it. I showed her the email with all the cancellations. And as she lunged at me, I stepped back, pulled out my phone, and started recording. She caught herself, but the damage was done. "Leave now," I said, "or I'll call the cops." "Your choice." She left, slamming the door so hard that the neighbors came out to check. And with that, everything I had been working for, everything I thought we had built, was finally over. The next morning, I woke up to a storm. My phone was still buzzing from the night before, and I had over 100 messages waiting for me. The same ones I had ignored. Her family was calling, her friends were texting, and there was a flood of notifications from social media. I knew what they were all saying. They were all on Andrea's side. They were all talking about me like I was some kind of monster. It was hard to keep my focus, to keep calm, but I knew what I had to do. I wasn't going to back down. I had already made up my mind. There was no way I was going to let her walk all over me anymore. It wasn't just the money, though that was part of it. It was everything, the lies, the betrayal, the constant manipulation. I had given everything I had, and I was left with nothing. I was done. But the real test was what came next. That afternoon, Andrea showed up at my apartment. Her eyes were red from crying, her face streaked with makeup. She looked like she had been through hell, and maybe she had. But I didn't feel sorry for her. I felt angry. Angry that she had put me through all of this. Angry that she had lied to me for months. She stood there in the doorway, not even bothering to knock. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice small. I didn't answer right away. I just stared at her, taking in the mess she had made of everything. The wedding, our relationship, all of it. "I don't know what you want to talk about," I said finally, my voice calm but firm. "You made it clear last night that you don't care about me, about what we were building. So what's there to talk about?" She shook her head. "It's not like that. You don't understand what I've been going through. I've been under so much pressure. I was doing this for us, for our future." "For us?" I repeated, my voice rising slightly. "You've been doing this for you, Andrea. You've been lying to me, taking from me, and now you're trying to turn it around like it's all my fault?" She took a step forward, trying to reach out to me, but I stepped back, keeping the distance between us. "You don't get it," she said, her voice breaking. "I was just trying to keep up with everything. My friends, my family, they all have perfect relationships, perfect weddings. I was trying to be perfect for you, for us. But I couldn't keep up. And you were never around to see it." My chest tightened as I listened to her words. It wasn't the apology I had hoped for. It wasn't even close. It was an excuse. Another excuse for everything she had done. I had been working nonstop to build our life, to make our dream wedding a reality, and all she could do was complain that I wasn't there when she needed me. She didn't want me, she just wanted to keep up with some idealized version of what our life should be. No, Andrea, I said, shaking my head slowly. You weren't doing this for us. You were doing it for you. You weren't keeping up with your friends, you were trying to escape the reality of what we were building. And you've been doing it on my back, at my expense. Her eyes widened. What are you talking about? I took a deep breath and grabbed the folder I had been keeping with all the documents. Bank statements, screenshots of her withdrawals, her social media posts. I'm talking about this, I said, holding the folder up in front of her. I'm talking about how you took money out of our wedding account. How you spent more than you contributed. How you lied to me about your promotion. How you've been lying to everyone. She looked at the folder in shock, then back at me. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I didn't mean to hurt you. I was just so overwhelmed. That's the problem, Andrea, I said, my voice steady but full of frustration. You've been overwhelmed by your own image of what your life should be, by the pressure you put on yourself to look like you have it all together. But you've been tearing us apart in the process. You took money from our wedding account and spent it on everything but the wedding. You lied to me, you lied to your family, and you kept it all a secret. And now you expect me to just forgive you because you're overwhelmed? She took a step back, her face crumpling as the tears began to flow again. I'm sorry. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I was scared. I didn't know what to do. And now I've lost everything. You haven't just lost the wedding, I said, my voice calm but unwavering. You've lost my trust. You've lost any chance we had of building a future together. Because right now, all I see is someone who's been using me, who's been playing me for a fool. And I'm not going to stand for it anymore. Her sobs grew louder, but I couldn't find it in myself to feel bad for her. She had made her choices. She had thrown everything we had worked for away. She had manipulated me, and now she was trying to turn the tables, trying to play the victim. Please, she whispered. Please don't do this. Don't throw it all away. I already have, I said, my voice final. And you did it. Not me. You chose this. You chose to lie, you chose to steal, and now you're the one left with nothing. I looked at her one last time, my heart heavy but resolute. The wedding is cancelled. I've already done everything I can to stop it, and there's no going back now. You can't change that. You've had your chance, and you blew it. She looked at me one last time, her face twisted with regret and pain, before turning away, defeated. She didn't say anything as she left. She didn't even try to apologize again. She just walked out, leaving me standing there, feeling the weight of everything that had happened. And with that, it was over. The aftermath was swift and brutal. I had known it was coming. After everything that had happened, after the way I had handled the situation, I wasn't expecting anyone to be on my side. But I still wasn't prepared for the full force of it. Andrea had a way of twisting everything to make herself the victim, and she did just that. Within hours of leaving my apartment, she posted a heartbreaking message on her social media, painting me as the villain. I hadn't even finished my coffee when my phone started blowing up again. I glanced at the screen and saw it. Her post was everywhere, flooding my notifications. I can't believe I trusted someone so heartless, she had written. Last night, he threw me out with nothing but a suitcase. I never thought he could be this cruel. I'm heartbroken. He's financially abusive. He's isolating me from everyone. This is the man I was supposed to marry. What did I do to deserve this? I froze. The words on the screen felt like daggers. It wasn't just a post. It was a calculated attack on my character, on everything I had worked for, everything I had given her. She was making me out to be a monster, and I was helpless to stop it. I knew she was angry, but this was something else. She wasn't just venting. She was turning the entire situation upside down, rewriting the story so that she was the one who had been wronged. The more I read, the more I realized this wasn't just a personal issue anymore. This was a public battle, one where I was the enemy. People began commenting, hundreds of them, all backing her up. They were calling me a monster, saying I was controlling, manipulative, and that I was emotionally abusive. They had no idea what had actually happened. They didn't know the truth. I sat there for a long time, staring at my phone, reading comment after comment. The message had gone viral in our circle, and now everyone was picking sides. Andrea had always been good at playing the victim, but this time, it was working. People I had known for years were calling me every name in the book. Friends from high school, old co-workers, even distant relatives were all weighing in. And none of them knew the full story. They didn't know that I had been the one working tirelessly, sacrificing sleep, social time, everything, to make the wedding happen. They didn't know about the withdrawals from the account, the lies she had told me. All they saw was a sobbing woman being thrown out of her apartment. I didn't know what to do. I wanted to respond, to tell them the truth, to show them the bank statements, the evidence of what had really happened. But I didn't want to get caught up in the mess. I didn't want to play her game. So, I stayed quiet. I knew that people would talk no matter what I said. The damage had already been done. But then, it didn't stop there. The calls started coming in. Her family, her mom, her dad, her sister, were all reaching out to me, trying to get me to fix things. They were furious, and it wasn't just because I had ended the engagement. They were angry at how I had treated Andrea, how I had humiliated her. They didn't want to hear my side of the story. They just wanted me to apologize and make things right. Her dad, Gerald, was the first to call. I expected his call, but it didn't make it any easier. Gerald had always been a bit overbearing, but this time, his tone was different. It was threatening, demanding, almost as if he was trying to control the situation from afar. He was a corporate lawyer, and he knew how to use his power to intimidate people. He wasn't calling me to ask what had happened. He was calling to tell me what I needed to do to make things right. "You need to fix this, son," he said, his voice icy. "I don't care what happened. You humiliated my daughter, and you owe her. This isn't how we do things in this family." I took a deep breath, holding back my frustration. "I owe her nothing," I said, my voice steady. "She's the one who stole from me, Gerald. She's the one who lied to me, who lied to all of you." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. "What are you talking about?" Gerald asked, his voice dropping an octave. "This is ridiculous. She's been through hell, and now you're blaming her?" "No," I said firmly, "I'm not blaming her. I'm telling you the truth. She took money from our wedding account. She spent it on God knows what. She lied about her promotion. She's been doing this for months. I've been working myself to the bone, and she's been taking from me while I've been paying for everything. I can't do this anymore." There was another long pause, and then I heard a faint gasp on the other end of the line. "Jesus Christ," Gerald muttered. "Are you serious?" "I'm dead serious," I said, feeling a rush of adrenaline. "I've got the bank statements, the screenshots. I have everything. She can't keep lying and getting away with it." I didn't hear from him for the rest of the day. But that didn't stop the social media storm. More and more people started commenting on Andrea's post, rallying around her. They were calling me abusive, saying I was a heartless jerk. Some of them even went as far as to say I didn't deserve to be in a relationship, that I didn't deserve anyone. My phone was constantly buzzing with messages, with people telling me how wrong I was, how cruel I had been. Then, out of nowhere, Alice messaged me. Alice was Andrea's co-worker, someone I had met a few times but never really gotten to know. She was friends with Andrea, but she wasn't afraid to speak the truth. And what she told me caught me off guard. "Hey," her message started, "I know you probably hate me right now, but you need to know something." I paused, wondering what she had to say. I wasn't in the mood for more drama, but something about the way she phrased it caught my attention. "I think you need to know the truth about Andrea's promotion," Alice continued. "It wasn't a promotion at all. It was a departmental restructure. She got moved to a different department, but the pay cut was significant. And the withdrawals. I think I know where the money went. I was stunned. What do you mean? I typed back quickly. I've been following Ethan's Instagram for a while, she wrote. I think you need to see what's really been going on. Andrea's been spending that money on him. They've been going on dates, posting all over social media. That's where the $4,200 went. My heart sank. I opened the link Alice sent me, and my worst fears were confirmed. There were pictures, dates, concerts, dinners, all with Ethan. Andrea's designer purse in the frame, the concert tickets she claimed were for a work event, and the weekend trip to Miami she swore was for a conference. It all lined up perfectly with the missing money. I made a new spreadsheet: dates, amounts, Ethan's posts, everything. The correlation was undeniable. She had been lying to me this whole time. And now, the truth was out. I wasn't just a victim of financial betrayal, I was the victim of emotional betrayal too. I couldn't hold it in any longer. I replied to one of Andrea's friends in the comments of her post, the one who had been trashing me. You're right, I wrote, she does deserve better. And it looks like she found it. Ask her about Ethan and the $4,200 she withdrew from our wedding account for their dates. It didn't take long for Ethan's profile to be deactivated. My phone started blowing up again. Andrea called me from Megan's phone, furious. You had no right to do that, she yelled. You posted public information, you exposed me. Ethan is just a friend. I stayed calm. Friends don't steal $4,200 from their fiancés, Andrea. He was never just a friend. And you know it. The phone call ended with silence. And as I looked at the fallout from the post, I realized something. I wasn't the bad guy here. I wasn't the one who had lied. I wasn't the one who had manipulated. I had finally found the courage to stand up for myself, and while the backlash was painful, it was also freeing. Andrea's account was deactivated shortly after. But the memories of what had happened lingered. People were still talking, but I didn't care anymore. It was over. I had made my peace. 3 weeks had passed since Andrea left. In that time, the chaos of the breakup had settled into a strange kind of calm. The social media storm had died down, and the people who had once been so quick to side with her were slowly coming around. They didn't come to me with apologies. No, they never would. But some of them started reaching out, asking for the full story. They wanted to know why I had made the decisions I had, why I had ended it. And though it wasn't easy, I shared the truth. I didn't do it for sympathy. I did it because I was tired of hiding behind the lies. I was tired of being ashamed of standing up for myself. I had learned the hard way that people don't always see the full picture. They take what's easy to digest, what's convenient for their narrative. But the truth was mine to tell, and I wasn't going to let anyone take that from me. I had already given up too much for too long. At first, the silence after Andrea left felt deafening. I didn't know what to do with myself. The apartment felt emptier than it ever had before. There was no more clutter from her makeup, no more shoes scattered across the floor, no more her scent lingering in the air. It was just me. I had spent so much time focusing on her, on the wedding, on everything we were supposed to build together, that I had lost sight of myself. And now, with her gone, I had to face the fact that I didn't really know who I was anymore, outside of what I had done for her. But as the days passed, I started to reclaim myself, piece by piece. It wasn't immediate. It wasn't some sudden realization. It came in small, quiet moments. The first time I cooked dinner for myself without thinking about whether she would like it. The first time I went to bed without feeling guilty for falling asleep early. The first time I took a weekend off from work without worrying about whether the extra hours I wasn't working would hurt us financially. I realized I had been living for her. I had been working myself to the bone, sacrificing everything, my time, my energy, my mental health, to build a life that I thought we both wanted. But in doing so, I had forgotten to live for myself. I had been giving so much of myself that I didn't even know who I was anymore. The first thing I did after Andrea moved out was take a break from everything. I turned off my phone for an entire weekend. No work. No texts. No emails. Just silence. And for the first time in months, I felt the weight of exhaustion lifting from my shoulders. I could breathe again. It felt like I was slowly coming back to life. I knew I couldn't just let the last year of my life be for nothing. I had worked hard, and I had sacrificed a lot, but I wasn't going to let that be the only thing that defined me. I had to start focusing on what mattered to me, on what I wanted for my future. I had to rebuild my life from the ground up, but this time, I was going to do it for myself. One of the first things I did was sign up for therapy. It wasn't something I had considered before, but after everything that had happened, I realized that I needed help. I couldn't just keep burying my feelings, pretending like everything was fine. I had to confront the anger, the betrayal, the disappointment that had been building up for months, maybe even years. I had to make peace with the fact that I had been in a toxic relationship, one that had drained me emotionally and mentally. Therapy wasn't easy, at first. I had to dig deep, peel back layers of pain and insecurity that I had ignored for too long. But with each session, I started to understand myself better. I began to recognize the patterns that had led me to ignore red flags, to overlook the signs that Andrea wasn't who I thought she was. I realized that I had been afraid to lose her, afraid to face the reality that our relationship wasn't built on mutual respect or trust. And in that fear, I had allowed myself to become someone I didn't recognize, someone who put up with betrayal because he didn't want to be alone. The healing process wasn't linear. There were days when I thought I was making progress, and then I'd be hit with a wave of doubt or regret. There were days when I would think about the future we had planned, the life we were supposed to have, and wonder if I had made the right choice. But deep down, I knew I had. I knew that I couldn't keep living for someone else, for a future that wasn't real. As the weeks went by, I started to feel more like myself. I started going out again, meeting new people, rediscovering hobbies that I had let slip. I went hiking on weekends, something I had always loved but hadn't had the time for. I went to the gym again, not because I had to, but because it made me feel good. Slowly, I began to rebuild my confidence. I started remembering who I was before Andrea, before the wedding planning, before all the sacrifices. And then, just when I thought I was beginning to regain control of my life, something unexpected happened. I got a message on LinkedIn. It was from a recruiter at a tech company I had applied to months ago, before everything with Andrea consumed my life. I had completely forgotten about the application, but there it was. The recruiter had come across my resume again through a mutual connection and wanted to know if I'd be interested in a job. I almost couldn't believe it. A job that was a 40% pay increase, with remote work options and a much better work-life balance. It was everything I had been looking for, but had never realized I needed. I was skeptical at first, thinking maybe this was just a fluke, but after a phone interview, I realized this could be the opportunity one had been waiting for. The interview was the best I'd ever had. It felt like a conversation, like I was finally being seen for my skills and my experience, not just my ability to grind away at a job for long hours. They wanted someone who could balance work with personal life, who could bring value without burning out. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was being offered a chance at something better, something more sustainable. A few days later, I received the offer. I accepted it without hesitation. It was a huge step forward. It was a new chapter. I couldn't help but reflect on how far I had come in such a short amount of time. I had gone from someone who felt trapped in a toxic relationship, someone who had been giving everything to make a future work with someone who didn't deserve it, to someone who was finally taking control of his life. I had been through hell, but I had come out the other side stronger. As for Andrea, I had heard through the grapevine that she and Ethan were now together. They had moved in after just a few weeks. It was a little ironic, considering how quickly everything had unfolded. Her parents were mortified, apparently, but that wasn't my concern anymore. It didn't matter. I had moved on. Looking back, I realized something important. The hardest thing wasn't leaving Andrea. The hardest thing was leaving behind everything I thought I knew about love, about sacrifice, about what it meant to be in a relationship. But now, I understood that love doesn't mean losing yourself. It doesn't mean sacrificing your happiness for someone else's dream. It means being strong enough to stand up for yourself, to walk away when it's no longer right, and to trust that you'll be okay, no matter what. The wedding had been cancelled. The life I thought I was going to build with Andrea was gone. But I was rebuilding my own life now. And this time, it was for me. Looking back, it's hard to believe how much has changed in such a short time. There were days, in the midst of everything falling apart, when I wondered if I had made the right decision. When I thought about the life Andrea and I were supposed to have at the wedding, the house, the future together, it was easy to get lost in the what-ifs. What if I had just tried harder? What if I had been more patient? What if things could have been different? But now, with time and distance, I can finally see the truth. The truth is that sometimes, walking away is the hardest, but most necessary thing you can do for yourself. It wasn't just about Andrea or the wedding or even the lies. It was about me. About my own well-being, my own self-respect, and my own future. The hardest part wasn't the breakup. It wasn't the emotional toll it took, the late-night crying or the anger. It wasn't the public fallout or the family drama. The hardest part was realizing that I had been living for someone else for so long, that I had sacrificed so much of myself just to make someone else happy, that I didn't even know who I was anymore. I had been so focused on building a future with someone else that I had completely lost sight of my own dreams, my own needs. But that's what this whole journey has taught me, that no one else is going to prioritize your happiness if you don't. No one is going to fight for your peace of mind if you're not willing to fight for it yourself. And no matter how much you love someone, no matter how badly you want something to work, you can't ignore the red flags, you can't ignore the signs that you're losing yourself in the process. There's a freedom that comes with letting go, a freedom that's hard to explain unless you've lived it. It's the freedom to finally breathe, to finally feel like you can be yourself again. For the first time in a long time, I didn't have to worry about making someone else happy. I didn't have to worry about their expectations or their version of the future. I could just focus on what I wanted, what I needed. I could focus on healing, on growing, on becoming the person I was meant to be, without the weight of someone else's expectations dragging me down. I've learned that I'm worth more than the sacrifices I made. I've learned that I deserve a relationship where I'm valued, where I'm respected, and where I'm not asked to give everything at the expense of my own happiness. And most importantly, I've learned that it's okay to walk away when something isn't right. It's okay to choose yourself. The wedding is off, and it's not what I had planned. But that's okay. I'm finally at peace with it. The future is still mine to shape, and I'm no longer afraid of what's ahead. I've found a new sense of clarity, a new sense of direction. And for the first time in a long time, I'm excited for what comes next. I'm moving forward. Not because I have to, but because I want to. And that's the most powerful thing I've discovered through all of this. I don't need to keep looking back. What matters is what lies ahead, and for the first time, I'm ready to face it.